Hi, I'm Anne Bowditch, and I just want to talk about health, more sort of physical health than the mindset side of things, because I think very often when it comes to physical health, we assume it's happening to the body and that we have no say or control over it. But actually, the body and mind are connected. They are not two completely separate entities. You could say the body is listening. So, whatever stress we're going through, the body is responding to that stress because the body wants to do its best for you. And the information is sent, you could say, from the brain down the spinal cord to whatever part of the body to make certain changes. Now, if you think about the fact that really, in terms of our ancestral response, if you like, our inbuilt DNA and genetics, we're not really meant to be in stress for very long. We're meant to be in stress for long enough to probably run away from a wild animal that might attack us, or to actually find our food, or to defend our turf. But stress really isn't meant to last for hours, days, or months, but it does in the modern day that we live in now. And that becomes the problem, because if our body just reacts very quickly to stress, it can then go back to healing. That's why sometimes when we have short-lived stress, we realize afterwards how exhausted we are. The body then is in healing. But if we're constantly in stress, the body is constantly releasing cortisol and it's constantly trying to find its rightful place and make changes, and then it's unable to heal. You see, that's the problem, is we should react to stress and then come back down into healing. But actually we go into stress and we stay in stress, and then we can't heal. When we do eventually get the chance to heal, that's often when we feel absolutely bombarded by either exhaustion or by some sort of health issue which rears its head, whatever that may be. So if we want to be healthy, then along with all the obvious things that we know are good for our health, eating well, moving, exercising, drinking sufficient water, staying clear of too much alcohol and lots of sugar, we know generally what we need to do for our health. But if we really want to be in a really good place with our health, then along with that, we have to deal with stress and ideally limit the stress in our lives. We're probably never going to clear stress completely. It's just a fact of life. We are going to have to deal with stress every now and then. But we can learn to deal with stress better. We can also decide what situations we put ourselves in and detach ourselves as much as possible. So that might be detaching ourselves from negative people. That might be changing job. It might be changing where we live. There could be a whole host of things that we actually do have more control over than we realise. Sometimes it's leaving a toxic relationship, and sometimes even a toxic friendship. So it's good to just look at the stresses in your life, especially if you do want to have good health, because there's no doubt that stress connects with what's going on within the physical body. An obvious one is something like IBS, because I think IBS is something that's recognised by doctors as a health issue that is linked to stress. Most of us, when we feel stress, will feel it either in our throat, our chest, or our sort of abdominal area, or sometimes all three. And you can understand then why IBS becomes a problem, because everything just gets so rigid and tight within that abdominal area, and it's just not able to do what it should be doing. But that's not to say that other health issues aren't connected to stress. It's just that IBS is the one that doctors identify, because when we're younger, we're taught your body makes a mistake. Illness is a mistake within the body. You go to the nice doctor, and the doctor gives you some medication which fixes it. However, that's what I used to believe, but now as a holistic practitioner and having much greater understanding of the mind and the body connection, now the way I see it is that the body is responding to something that's happening or happened, either a stress, ongoing stress, a trauma, a very strong belief within us, and the body reacts, and in that reaction can often create poor health. Now, medication as a general rule will not heal, it will suppress symptoms. Something like antibiotics will cover up those symptoms, giving the body time to heal. It may, in some ways, you could argue, speed up a healing process. But actually, what that does is it's not fixing the underlying issue, the underlying stress or trauma, and that's why often symptoms come back again and again. We often have repetitive cycles of health issues. So if you're constantly going to, for instance, a physiotherapist or a practitioner, assuming this is not a basic postural issue because you're sat very badly at your desk or you're doing some sort of overuse process with your body, then chances are that will also be stress related. If there's tension within the body, chances are it's stress related. And that's why people are frantically trying to do things that help them feel better, yoga and meditations. But actually, if we can change our perceptions on life, that's going to create a whole host of changes for us, much more positive. If we can help to learn techniques that help us release stress really early, and again, as I say, just put ourselves in a position where we limit the stress in our lives. That's why a lot of people downsize as they get older, because they want to limit the stress. They might feel that gives them more abundance and then more choices in life. There's a whole host of ways we can look at our life stress and how we start to change that, so we put our body in the best physical position. But the body is listening, it's reacting, and it's changing, and 90+% of health issues are developed within the body because of stress and health, because of what's going on within the mindset, because we have unresolved trauma, because we have a strong belief of some sort, and that is why we have health issues in the majority of cases.